This is the Situation Room, and we're getting into our Justice Thursday conversation for the morning. Yes, our live streams, we'll continue to get them on KTN this morning. And our audience on KTN, a very good morning and a welcome to you as you're listening to the Situation Room across the country, the region, and the world. Asante Sana for being here this morning. And like I said, our Justice Thursday conversation is looking at justice at 4. And advocate and governance analyst Fanya Mambo Kinodhia is here with us this morning. Fanya Mambo, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Salama kabisa. Good to see you.
I'm happy to be here. It's always an honor.
Yeah.
Actually, you guys have a very huge following, so this is the place to be.
Asante,
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about some stuff that may get sticky at some point.
Okay.
But then for us to be able to look into some of these things, I think it's important, especially since the country at the moment is discussing the way forward. Before we do that, Dennis has taken us to
Mauritania, Islamic Republic of Mauritania.
Okay.
So a few things that they do have. They're rich in copper, gold, phosphate, gypsum, and fish, and iron ore. So the iron ore is actually, their train is named after the iron ore. It's called the iron ore train, and it's long, 2 kilometers long. Just the train, in terms of the carriage, is 2 kilometers long and heaviest in the continent, based off the things that it carries now, the resources that I've just mentioned. But the proverb that you get from the people of Mauritania, if all seeds were to fall to grow, if all seeds that fell were to grow, then no one could follow the path under the trees. If all seeds that fall were to grow, then no one could follow the path under the trees. How would you interpret it?
Wow, interesting. If all seeds that fall were to grow. First is we are happy that not all of them grow.
Yeah.
Because some are not worthy of being in existence. Some seeds are bad. Some seeds carry the wrong things. And of course, some soils are also not good, because all the seeds that fall don't fall on good soil. Some fall on rocks, some fall on the path, some fall on the highway. And so they all don't fall on the same kind of place. And so therefore, it is good that they all don't grow, because those that fell on the highway, if they grew, then we would not have a highway. Those that fell on a rocky path, if they grew, then we would not have a rocky path. And sometimes we need some of this.
Indeed.
So let them grow where they are needed. And we have spaces for other things. Not everything is for seeds.
Well said.
Wow. Not everything is for seeds. There's spaces for other things as well.
Yeah.
Some seeds should just not grow.
Yeah.
They're useless, not needed.
Yeah.
Well said, well interpreted.
Yeah. I think if you Kenyanize it, there are some politicians you look at speaking on TV and you pray that they never get children, because their seed, if propagated, will be another problem in the generations to come.
Wow.
Touche.
Nothing like saying what you think this morning. And so let's look, is it based on that, the country was, held captive audience yesterday to, oh God, I forget what it is, roadmap to 2060. And we're looking then now at this point, justice at 4 years, is 1 year to the next election, 362 days actually. And with this new roadmap to 2060, the president was clear that it has nothing to do with politics, in his opinion. It had nothing to do with politics or the next general election, because after the election, there is still a country to run. Okay. There are many who share a totally different opinion that it has everything to do with the next general election, and that's why you're making this new direction. But let's take justice and let's put it under the microscope for the last 4 years, and what has continued to be. When we're looking at the legality of things, when we're looking at constitutionalism, when we're looking at the agents and actors of justice, and the certain things that continue to happen, would you say that justice has been delivered in the way it ought to be from a governance perspective in the last 4 years?
Thank you. I think the president started by first saying that we are going to have a national dialogue.
Yes.
In fact, this thing of 2060, we are seeing it now. It got to be seen yesterday. But the first conversation he had invited us to was a conversation about a national dialogue, which many people had said no to. But I, as Fanya Mambo, I had said yes to that national dialogue. The problem is we didn't see the people we wanted to see at that national dialogue table. First, I keep saying that when the Gen Z were dying, there was a man kneeling down with an AK-47 aiming at the brains of young people and spewing them on tarmac. We wanted that man at that dialogue table. When we were in Al-Kalau, there were men in balaclavas, covered their faces. They were beating people. They killed 2 people that we later had to bury after the elections. We wanted to see those men at that dialogue table. We wanted to see every other member of parliament who had, especially the Belgut member of parliament, is it Belgut? This member of parliament who had told Kenyans that the president should not say shoot in the leg. He should actually shoot to kill.
Yep.
So the kind of people we wanted to see at that dialogue table were not there. We wanted to see the people who were in the cell with Albert Ojwang when he lost his life. We wanted to see the people who had been used to beat up young people and abduct them and make them disappear. We wanted people who would come and give us an explanation as to where 200 young people plus have disappeared to. But what we were treated to at KICC is being told fantastic ideas about other nations and how they became what they became, instead of us having a conversation about the things that hurt us. You can't wake up one morning, beat up your wife and children, and then tomorrow you tell them, now I'm thinking of taking us and moving us to Karen in the next 5 years. The conversation we should be having is how I'm going to move you to Karen in the next 5 years. But your wife is hurting, your children are hurting. Uliwapiga ukiwa mlevi usiku. You've done atrocious things to your family. Then you're telling them, in the next 5 years, we are all going to be living in Karen. Tutatoka hapa Mukuru Kayaba, tutaenda kuishi Karen. But you don't want to have a conversation about the uncomfortable things that your family is telling you. And that is what was happening at KICC. He keeps mentioning Singapore and telling us about Singapore, but he doesn't mention those things that make Singapore Singapore. The first one is, when the president of that country or republic or state called Singapore wants to come here, he comes here in a Turkish Airlines branded aircraft. He does not lease the expensive jets that William Ruto leases to travel around the world. He travels public. The head of the Vatican, the Pope himself, when he wants to move, he's moved in an Air Italia aircraft. He charters a public aircraft. The bulk of the presidents in the world who cannot afford to hire the jets that William Ruto hires are always moving around the world that way. So if the president of Singapore is trying to hire a Turkish Airlines jet to get him to wherever he wants to move, and by there he's not globetrotting, he's not moving around the world, he's saving the country's money by sticking at home and fixing home. Home is not going to be fixed by the husband who is not at home. So these things we saw this is a fanfare that was existing at KICC, so that we can sell to people some fantastic idea. And that's what people who have failed do. When you wake up and tell hustlers, nitawatoa bottom niwapeleke up, nitafanya serikali na mama mboga, when you cannot deliver on the promise of mama mboga, how can you deliver Singapore to us?
I think even as we talk about the Singapore, we look at the promise that was given during the campaign, and we go back to 2021, 2022, where the promise was, back then we had the Riviala killings that the country was synonymous for, and the promise that was given is, in my administration, if I form government, we would not see disappearance, would not see extrajudicial killing of police and everything else. And with 4 years now heading to the next general election, many are asking the question, what happened to the promise of not killing, dealing with the police brutality, and has justice really been our shield and defender during the 4 years?
The president did not keep his promise. In fact, if you ask me what was the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, I'll tell you, hatupangwingwi is the only thing we used to hear. I tried listening to them to know what they had in store for us, and everything they kept telling us was either bottom up or hatupangwingwi, which means we are not arranged, so they can do anything they want to do. And as we speak right now, we have never had such a serious affront to human rights and to the justice system in our country, that you would wake up one morning. We will never forget 2024. You know, they want us to forget. We have refused to forget that beyond the young people who died, there is over 200 young people whom we don't know where they are, up to date, and nobody wants to give us an answer about it. This is the first time since independence we've seen the number of Subarus that we have seen. Men in balaclavas doing the things they are doing, abducting people, taking them to unknown places, killing them, returning some of them maimed. This is something that we had never signed up for as a country. And their only crime is to ask the government, why are you bringing us a finance bill that is extortionist in nature. Their only crime is to tell the government that what you are doing to us is wrong and we don't want this happening to us. So we do not see justice. He's promising us Singapore, but he has taken the Haiti route. He's promising us Singapore, but he's taking us to Kosovo. We can clearly see that this direction goes to Singapore, to Kosovo, because the road to Singapore is paved with a fight against corruption. Mm-hmm. The road to Singapore has got pavements that read, do not steal from the public, do not waste public resources, plan your future well, stop governors from becoming extravagant. That is the road to Singapore. But the road to Kosovo, the road to Haiti, the road to these failed countries and states looks like what we are having now. That you can wake up one morning and you have goons working hand in hand with police to beat up innocent citizens for demanding for what is rightfully theirs. So you cannot put us on the wrong direction and then tell us that we are going to get to where we are going. William Ruto has to wait a minute, stop, sit, and rethink. The only thing, in fact, none of us ever voted for the Singapore dream. Let's start there. Anybody who voted for William Ruto had voted for the bottom-up economic model. Alikuwa anataka shida za watu wa bodaboda, mama mboga, watu wa chini, zisotiwe. That's what people voted for. Why are you giving them something they never voted for? Nobody asked you to take them to Singapore. Nobody asked you ever in their lifetime that they want these fantastic dreams and ideas. The only things that Kenyans told you is, saidia mama mboga, atoke bottom, aende up. But now you are not doing it. Now the next thing now you are doing is promising fantasies. And what dictators do across the world is when they realize they've not delivered what they were supposed to deliver, they give you a dream about a year that they know they are not going to be alive. And then they start telling you, now this is where I'm taking you. We have not asked you about 2060 when our children are at home. We have more than 130,000 children who were not able to make it to grade 10 transition. Yeah. Can we fix that? We are not going to go to Singapore with people who have not had high school education. Okay? Right now, the university funding model imewashinda. Walileta kitu tofauti, it has not worked for them. Now children are being told they have to start doing harambes to go to the university. If you cannot go to the university and get a degree, how do you go to Singapore? Singapore is an industrial nation. Singapore is a scientific space. Singapore is a place where a lot of education has been pumped into the people. You cannot build these skyscrapers if you are dimwits. Mutajenga nyumba za matope. So it needs architects, it needs engineers, it needs doctors, it needs people who are learned. You are not fixing university education and then you are telling us you'll take us to Singapore. Dimwits will not go to Singapore. We want to make sure that our people first are able to get the basics right. Hungry people don't go to Singapore. Many Kenyans today are now fixing only one meal a day.
Indeed.
Like an animal. Yep. Just one meal, and that's all you can afford. Now, that person who is not able to fix 3 meals a day is being told that they are being taken to a fantastic place with skyscrapers. So that is not going to work. This fantasy is unwarranted for the nation right now. That was our waste of our time and money at KICC. What Kenyans want to hear is how I'll wake up tomorrow morning and I can pay my medical bill.
Now, not too far away from KICC yesterday, there was a symposium that was taking place where IG Douglas Kanja oversaw. And when we're talking about justice at 4, what we are looking at here, there are many things that have gone under the table. In the last 2 weeks, 2 men have died in police custody. One was Eric Otieno at the Muthaiga police station, and another one was a gentleman called George Macau, just here in Makueni, Machakos. Makueni. Yes. Yesterday, IG Douglas Kanja has ordered the immediate interdiction of officers in charge whenever a detainee dies while in police custody. He's not waiting for Dr. Odrang at IPOA to wake up and say, okay, this is what's going on. He's not waiting for the courts to, whatever. It maybe has come late in the game because too many Kenyans have died. And I do not care if it is one. If it is one, I am saying too many Kenyans have died while in police custody, without explanation or without somebody paying the price. Yes, there are trials, there are inquests going on, but too many Kenyans have died. IG Kanja perhaps has made the most robust declaration on something like this. He's not saying come and start asking questions. Let's come and go and do postmortem. Let us view CCTV cameras. No, he said very clearly, unequivocally, in probably some of the most stern manner I've ever seen IG Kanja discuss. And he said, officers in charge, interdict them immediately. Don't wait to pass go and collect 200. Do it now. He went on to say that he's identified the OB recording officer, call sentry and duty officers as those who should face interdiction pending investigations into the circumstances of a detainee's death. So don't wait to ask questions later. Do it now. It was issued on Wednesday during a sensitization forum on new service standing orders and police reforms at the Leadership Academy in Gong. So while that was happening, while this what you call fantasy was taking place, somebody was getting down to business and said, you know what, these are the things that we need to be focusing on. Does that look like now justice would be taking a turn if two of these conversations are happening parallel?
Allow me to explain what's happening. IG Kanja, thank you for that one move. It was a good one. But this is where the problem comes in. Have you ever heard the saying that a chicken thief will get caught faster than a guy who stole 5, 10, 7 billion? That's exactly what's happening. The bigger picture is this, IG Kanja. When we were in Olkalau, there were men in balaclavas. They were carrying guns. Their faces were covered. They were parking their vehicles at the county commissioner's residence and county commissioner's office. They were speaking with MP Kawanjiko. They were seen on TV. They were speaking with some of the cabinet secretaries that work in this administration. IG Kanja, with the same zeal, with the same energy, please, I want you to declare here on national TV and to say that all those men who were in balaclavas, ama useme nani ashikwe, the county commissioner should be in a police cell, atoe mshipi na atoe kiatu, aanze ku explain these men who were parking vehicles in his compound, who are they? So what we are saying is that there is sometimes selective application of justice.
Okay.
So that if there is a constable or a corporal or maybe a sergeant who's made a mistake in a police cell, he's interdicted very fast. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying they should not be interdicted.
Okay.
What I am saying is, with the same zeal that these people have been stopped, that these people or investigations have been opened against them, can't we now deal with those same thugs who are doing these atrocious things to us? So that is what I would want IG Kanja to do. Secondly, IG Kanja, I first start by thanking you for what you've done. Then I want to remind you of that conversation that has been going around in this nation of officers commanding stations, very many of them coming from one community. And to tell you, IG Kanja, when I look at this nation, the Luya, the Kisi, the Maragoli, the Masai, the Taita, the Taveta, you know, the people from every region in this country also have got their sons and daughters who have served in the National Police Service and are really qualified to become officer commanding stations. And we request that you start now cleaning up the police force to make it have a national look. Tafuteni Mujaluo mumfanye OCS, tafuteni Mkisi mumfanye OCS, tafuteni Mtaita mumfanye OCS, tafuteni Maragoli mfanye OCS. Let the face of the national police look like Kenya. People don't want to have these tribal conversations on TV because they are uncomfortable. But I'm willing to bring it there. Let us get to the place where someone looks at the police force and says, haya, kumbe, hata sisi Waturukana tuko na watu kwa police force. We want that feeling. And that has to be done because it's not like we don't have them there. It's not like they are not qualified. It cannot be that all the people who are qualified to hold this position are only from one community. Hatujaona OCS Mumeru, you know, hatujaona OCS Mutigania. You know, those are some of the things that Kenyans are saying. That as you clean up the police force, also give it a national look. Yeah.
I mean, you've just touched on criminal justice system, and we look at the selective application of the same, like you've said, and it's a concern to many. Because even, for example, you remember what Kagusha said must be called out, regardless. It has to be called out because it is a statement that shouldn't have come, especially from a person of his stature. But you equally have to look at what others have said and how they have been treated. You know, Opondo Kaluma, what did he say the other day? Nothing has happened to him. Listen to what many other MPs are saying out here. And NCS is not moving in, police is not moving in. Kagusha was sent to 80 police officers to be arrested. Now, when you talk about selective application of the law and justice, where are we? And how do we then promise Kenyans that if we want a second term, to provide security and apply the very same law equally?
It's unfortunate. I found myself in court that day. We had come in solidarity with Kagusha. Not really in solidarity with the words he said. I think it's good to be fair. That some of those words we wish we could retract. Okay, we want people to vote the way they want to vote. The best we can do for now is to tell people, please don't vote for a certain person. He's not fit to be president. He's not good for this republic. But we can't take it to punishing those people who have decided to vote for that person. I think that is stifling democracy. Democracy has to be allowed to thrive, so that in as much as I don't agree with you, I agree that you have your right to vote for whoever you want, and you should not have consequences of repercussions of voting for that person. So that was unfortunate. What we were fighting against is that impunity, as you said, where he had all those police officers being sent to him to arrest him at night, and all of them had their faces covered. And I'm glad he stuck and stayed at that premises until morning, and insisted that if he has to be arrested, it has to be by uniformed policemen. And if he has to be carried in a vehicle, it has to be a registered police vehicle, with police colors and so on and so forth, and taken to a police cell, which is the right thing to do. So, and again, you ask yourself, if they arrested him in Kilimani, why did they have to take him to Kamukunji police station? He should have been taken to Kilimani police station, for example. So all these things that they do. Then now you have Duale calling other people hyenas. You have the other MP from Luo Nyanza who said very regrettable things about anybody who is going to be seen wearing a Linda Mwananchi t-shirt. And he said that you are going, just try, and he kept threatening people, and he repeated it severally. Nothing has happened to him. Why? Because he's speaking things that are making this government happy. That the government is happy when violence is meted against other people who are not pro this administration. But when people who are pro the administration are threatened with violence, then the government comes with a very heavy hammer on those people. Let the law apply equally. Let everybody feel that they are protected under the cover of the law. I mean, some of us have had the opportunity on very many media houses to say nationally divisive things, things that could actually ban this nation. But we have chosen the path of restraint. We have chosen our words carefully, because we know once words come out, you can't go catching them in the air. So let us all be people who practice restraint, and in Rwanda began that way. It began by people calling others rats and saying that they should not exist, they shouldn't be there. Everybody has a right to exist in this country. Just campaign for your candidate, allow the others to do their part, and let Kenyans make the decision.
Fanya Mambo, the president seems to imagine that we're going to be having this conversation in the space of a new constitution. Constitution that was promulgated in 2010 is just, about 16 years old now in terms of schedules of implementation of the Constitution. Some of those are yet to be completed. Some of them have not even started. But seems to imagine that the road to 2060 then needs to be paved with the walls of a new Constitution.
Kenya does not need a new Constitution. Kenya needs a new president. So William Ruto, if you are uncomfortable with our Constitution, you are the one to go. Sisi tuko 50 million and we are okay with it. You alone, you are the one who is okay with it. So you leave us with our Constitution. I mean, who said he must be president? What we are telling William Ruto is simple. Please, if you feel that this Constitution is constraining you, resign as president. You don't have to be president. 50 million of us plus are okay with the Constitution. Why are you the one who wants to change it? Who told you we want it changed? When did you ever consult Kenyans and Kenyans that told you that they have a problem with the Constitution? So Kenyans are telling you, Your Excellency William Ruto, kwa heshima na unyenyekevu, kama katiba yetu ambayo uliapishwa nayo imekushinda, please leave us alone. Resign, okay? Go, maybe you can govern another country that can change the Constitution the way it wants. But for us, as far as we are concerned as Kenyans, we are happy with our Constitution. By the way, when you took oath of office in 2022, you swore to protect this constitution.
Yes.
Changing it is not protecting it. Coming and saying that you don't have to consult us is not protecting the constitution. This country belongs to over 50 million Kenyans, and they are happy with the constitution. The few people who are not happy with it, we have a few islands very close to Mombasa there. We can pick them and put them in that island. They just stay there. Then, so that way they are not disturbed by the rest of us who are okay with it. So that you leave the bigger piece of the country to us who are comfortable with this constitution. So we can create a small island to people who want zero constitutionalism, people who want anarchy. We just ask them, how many volunteer to go to a country without anarchy? In fact, hata hawa gunzu wamekuwa kitusumbua huku nini. All of them, we collect them, we put them there, and we say, a state that has got zero constitutionalism has been created in one of the small islands at the coast that we do. And then wakae huko. Then all of us who believe in constitutionalism and democracy and the rule of law and elections every 5 years and consulting Kenyans and not abducting people and not killing others can remain here in peace. Yeah.
It has been said that the problem that the country faces today is the fact that we have a blueprint that is the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The implementation of that Constitution is what is lacking, because the Constitution speaks of bills of rights. The Constitution speaks of rights to assembly and picket. The Constitution demands of accessible and affordable healthcare, right to education and all these things. Implementation of the blueprint that is the Constitution of Kenya, where many would say that is the vision that would take Kenya to vision 20, 100 or 60, 20, whichever way you want to look at it, is by implementing the Constitution. How would you reckon that has been?
I'll tell you, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 is like a country that was running in an old Akamba bus. Okay? And then one day we woke up and decided we are buying a brand new bus.
Yep.
Brand new shocks, it's airmatic suspension, the seats are new, it's got aircon, it's a wonderful new bus. The problem comes in here. We want to take a driver who is a rogue driver or a bad driver and put them in charge of a new bus. That bus will end up in a ditch. Buying a new bus is one thing, but then you must have the right driver for that bus. You must get a driver who understands that the suspension of this bus is airmatic, that this bus is now automatic, that this bus has got doors that open with a button and the doors are sliding. That's our new Constitution 2010. It requires of us that every time we are choosing the driver for the bus, we must be meticulous and we must get a polished person. And we must get a person who appreciates that this new bus comes with a lot of features. So what we have done is we've created a very good document, but we've entrusted the wrong people with the implementation of that document. And those people don't mean well for this country. And that's why they wake up. Kagushia has been ordered. The court has ordered the OCS to release Kagushia. And there's an existing court order. And they detain him until morning. That is warrant disrespect of the Constitution. And those are the things that we are saying are not the things we want to move into 2027. We want to see people who practice restraint in dealing with other mwananchi, and to realize that nobody is more mwananchi than the other one. We are all equal under the law. Let us respect one another. Yeah.
How can you, or what constitutionally, we've understood that if the people of Kenya are dissatisfied with the way in which things are happening, that then it seems as though the answer or the solution to that is to then express this dissatisfaction when you go to the polls. Because if we look at it, we study elections and we study election results, that Kenyans actually vote in an interesting manner. Kenyans don't necessarily vote in people, they vote out others. So the dissatisfaction that you feel comes and shows very clearly in the vote. Because if it were that you were voting in someone, usually the person that was supposed to come and save, then you would see that person in. But Kenyans have the practice of voting people out. And it seems as though if you brought in the person that you feel would then be able to do this, then perhaps you'd then be able to move. Can that be changed? And how would you see that actually happening? That then don't go to the ballot in anger and say, well, this hasn't worked and this hasn't worked, and I'm going to vote in anybody to come and do the thing. But say, this hasn't worked, and this is the person that I feel is going to then be able to do this. How does that change to flip the script?
I want to look at Kenyans in the face, and I want to tell them that the ballot is a repository of hope. The ballot is that one place where you take your dreams, you take your aspirations, you take your hopes, you take those things that you want that are good for tomorrow. The ballot is not a reservoir of makasiriko, hasira, fujo, kufuta mutu kazi. Because when you take anger to the ballot, the fact remains that you might as well reap the results of anger in a year or two. So let us see that ballot as that place when we close our eyes, it's a repository of hope. And we are putting in that ballot all the things that we feel are the correct things for this country moving forward. So I'd like to urge Kenyans that yes, we want an end to killings, to abductions, to anarchy, to risasi ya mguu, to disrespect of court orders. We want an end to these things. But more than an end, we want a beginning. And we want a beginning in meritocracy, in good leadership, in servant leadership, in respect for the rule of law, in constitutionalism, in appointments of people with merit, and so on and so forth. So beyond looking at the end, let us look at the beginning. Olkalao was a good sign. It was a good example to the nation. That money in 2027 is going to be rendered irrelevant. That those people who have been stocking up money, those people who've been saying nikifika nitanunua kila mtu, we are telling them that utakuja na pesa yako utapea wananchi. Alafu wanagawa kidogo. They go and give the candidate that they want. They actually give a candidate money and they vote for the right candidate. Number two, Olkalao has also shown us that we shall guard votes. Because one of the other things that makes us seem like we didn't vote well is the fact that the Kenyans voted well, but to some extent were not able to guard some votes. And in 2022, there are people who came in because Kenyans were not able to guard votes in certain specific places. Now we are seeing the example of Olkalao, and it's going to be replicated across the country, where Kenyans are saying, beyond casting our vote, we shall make sure that our vote counts, and we shall make sure that our votes are not stolen. So that tomorrow morning, we don't have the same terrible people laughing at us and saying, niliwanyorosha kwa uchaguzi, yet we know what happened. So we will not allow them the pleasure of coming to laugh at us and tell us niliwanyorosha, yet we know they stole from us. So those two things will happen.
The vote is a repository, as well stated. It is let's say it's the bullet that Mwananchi has to fight against anything that is on their way. But with that, then we equally have to look insular in political parties on the kind of individuals that they offer to Mwananchi, because it will be utterly useless if we vote in the very same people that have led us where we are today. So from political parties, our political parties then sieving individuals that they offer to Mwananchi, because you don't want to repeat the same mistake ever again?
It becomes difficult. I looked at, for example, Linda Mwananchi, where I have been a founding member. And we'll join Linda, because Linda Mwananchi, people don't understand. Ni vugu-vugu. It's not yet a political party. So what has been happening with Linda Mwananchi is Sifuna comes in as a member of ODM. Babu Owino comes in as a member of ODM. Fanya Mambo comes to Linda Mwananchi as a member of DCP. We have people who come to Linda Mwananchi as members of Jubilee and others as members of Wiper. People have their constituent parties, but we support this movement. And I've always said very clearly, I'm in DCP, and I'm in DCP to stay. So the question here becomes, political parties, what will they offer? So Linda Mwananchi was approached by someone, and she wanted to join. Her name is Aisha Jumwa. What should Akina Sifuna do? I don't want to speak about her, but I want Kenyans to read about her past. And Kenyans made a decision, and they were making noise and telling them, oh, you people represent tomorrow, don't allow such people to come in. But then the question becomes, how do you, as a party now, when you become a party, stop certain people from coming to join? As we speak right now, you've seen the defections. In fact, I'm looking at the daily newspaper. Muirongo Kangata, Kiambu governor wa Matangi, Nyandarua governor, Kagombe and Muthoni from Lamu, and many others, by the way, are going to defect. What will political parties do? And some of these people who are defecting, whether you like it or not, may have some support and some clout and some value they could bring to the party. But I don't think that's the direction to go. So I think the correct thing to do is to keep speaking to mwananchi. Because the bottom line is, chama ikishindwa kitu ya kufanya, what do? They usually tell you go for nominations. Mwenye wananchi watatupea, ndio tutaenda na yeye as a party. So the bottom line is mwananchi. We have to go and educate mwananchi and speak to mwananchi and shout to mwananchi and remind mwananchi and beg mwananchi if we have to beg them. And tell them, refuse to forget. We want you to take from 2022 to 2027 now and think about each of those candidates and refuse to forget all the bad things that any of them may have done. And so that ikifika wakati wa nomination, we are not blaming the party for the candidate they brought to the fore. We are blaming wananchi for nominating a candidate that they should never have nominated. So for me, the bottom line still goes to mwananchi, because hapo ndipo shida iko. Sometimes people who have killed, people who have maimed, people who have done atrocious things come and offer themselves. Na unakuta kwa nomination, wananchi have given that person 10,000 votes more than the nearest contender. What do you do with such mwananchi? Hapo ndipo shida iko. That a party may have the dilemma of saying, tutafukuza huyu. Because parties want everybody in. But now the question becomes, wewe mwananchi mwenye uliona huyu MP alidisappear for 5 years. Hakutumia CDF vizuri. He did atrocious things in the constituency. Why would you go to the nominations and nominate that person against other credible people? Hapo ndipo shida iko. Na mimi naomba tushikane sisi wote, and I thank SpiceFM and every other media house that is trying to do this, for us to talk to mwananchi and tell them this thing really boils down to you. Ni wewe ndio shida. Yeah.
Can you tell from a person, they say that by their fruits you shall know them, but and I think that the dilemma that people may have is that you're not sure what fruits this person is going to bear. You're not sure. But if you were able to look at how they operate, then you could tell. For example, if I became president of whatever country, then I would be very clear that you would know that I would focus on things like education and making sure that there was an environment where people could thrive. Can you tell from individuals, Fanya Mambo, what essentially what their stock is, what they would do, what they would really move for in terms of governance? Can you tell? Because it becomes really difficult. Because it would appear as though I can come and promise you heaven and deliver hell. I could come and you would not be sure what it is, but then I have a potential to deliver heaven. But are there signals? Are there signs that you would then be able to know, okay, this person is not going to disappear people. This person is not going to oversee the unalivement of people, is not going to condone certain behavior, is actually going to make sure that governance and the rule of law are sacrosanct. But can you tell beforehand?
Yes, you can.
How can you tell?
Let's start by those who are already occupying office today. If they are terrible and you return them, we blame you. So that is done. Those ones have already shown who they are. They've already shown what they can do. But secondly, some of us who've offered ourselves for elective seats. When I started saying William Ruto is not fit to be president of the Republic of Kenya, that was in 2022. I was in Azimio and I was campaigning for Raila Amolo Odinga. I have never changed my stand. In fact, when Raila was joining hands to work with William Ruto, some of us had a chance to say, excuse, tunaingia na baba. We said no. I stood with very many people on this side of saying no to this administration. I can count for you with my whole fingers naziishe the number of people who've been bought since. And now they are singing songs that I didn't believe they would sing. Sisi wengine tumebaki. You think they don't know our address or they don't have our phone numbers? We have just been resolute about standing on the side of mwananchi and refusing the threats, refusing the intimidation, refusing the money, and the offers are really good. Yeah, I have seen some of them now telling me, Fanya Mambo, weka tu hapo mjinga. Sasa nimenunua kaprado niko na niga. And I'm like, fine. Mimi naweza ishi nyumba ya mabati all my life if I have to. But I'm going to live with my integrity. So it is possible to tell. Just look at the last 5 years and see how many of them have flip-flopped. Unasikia ako huku. Fanya Mambo has been consistent. One narrative, consistent throughout. To the point that Baba, who I supported so much, When he joined William Ruto, I drew the line and said, okay, Baba, sina vita na wewe. Lakini mwenye mumeshikana na yeye, I cannot continue. So we will find such people. Someone has said something which I must respect. One of the persons on the comments has said that 8 million Kenyans had a problem with the candidature of Baba and they had a problem with the candidature of Ruto. So they refused to vote in 2027. So again, I also agree there's a small disconnect somewhere that we need to also offer leaders that are worthy of the votes of people so that the voter turnout is good. Because sometimes Kenyans might look at the candidates who are going to be on the ballot and they're like, why should I even wake up? Let us give Kenyans candidates that would make them wake up in 2027. I think that is the main thing, especially the presidential candidate, because those ones now you saw they rarely go through a nomination for presidential candidates. Those ones are picked. But for these other seats, it's possible for Mwananchi to actually decide who will be on the ballot for MP, for senator, for governor, because parties will offer you nominations. But for the presidential candidate, we must make sure that there are men and women worthy of making people wake up at 4 a.m. Otherwise, kuna majina munaweza weka hapo, hata Fanya Mambo akiwa anajisikia kuamka ashindwe kuamka, because then it's a collection of terrible ones.
And I think that speaks directly then to the role that political parties play in terms of nomination, and that nomination appearing on seemingly to reflect what Wananchi want. Because you find in what we have seen is that those were given direct tickets against what Wananchi wants. And many say, you know what, there's no reason for me to show up to vote, because at the end of the day, that decision has been decided, yet it's not what I agree upon. So then, in terms of, I want you to speak to political parties and the nomination exercise and how that should reflect what Mwananchi wants and not what party honchos want or prefer.
Many years ago, I used to dislike Baba for what I used to call him handpicking some candidates and giving them tickets. But after being in this space for some time, you realize that in a party there is nothing as expensive as loyalty. You'll find a guy who is very popular. When we almost made that mistake in Olkalao. Oh, he seemed to be popular. Tomorrow morning after he's voted, he jumps ship and goes to the opponent side and starts fighting the party that took him to parliament. We saw that with Jubilee, with Akina Sabina Chege and others. And that's why it gets to a place where the people who are running the party make a decision. It's not usually the best decision, but sometimes it's a decision that makes sense. Can you imagine Jubilee was constrained for electing or nominating people? The people they decided to give the few nomination slots they had woke up the following morning and started working with William Ruto against who Jubilee was fighting. So you need to get to a place where you ask yourself as a party leader, if I have to choose between this one that people think is a fantastic person because he's given them money on the ground and he's made them to dance, and a person who is loyal to the cause, who shall we give our ticket? And many times, Raila Amolo Odinga would give a ticket to someone he knows. You know, you look at somebody like the late Otieno Kajwang, may he rest in peace. He of Mapambano. Baba knew that there probably were other people who were more popular in the ground and people who would probably, Wananchi would have said, we want this guy. But there was one thing about Otieno Kajwang. He was loyal to the cause, and never did he wake up one day and start fighting Baba from inside his own party. Because there's nothing as painful as you unapigwa kwako kwa nyumba, ukitoka nje unaenda tena unapigwa na watu wengine. You need to choose your battles to know that at home I'm safe. This is my peace. And when I go out there, I'm fighting other battles.
So then are we able to trust political parties? Because unfortunately, look, somebody can irritate you today, and what do you do tomorrow? You wake up, you stand up in the morning, and you go and you form your own new political party. So that we've bastardized the process of political parties, or the meaning, the reason behind political parties. That there's an ideology that they should follow. Should, and I say should because very rarely do we see the following of that. So when you get this buffet and somebody says, well, I'm going to have lunch today, and on the buffet, you say there should be a spread of options that I should then be able to pick. Unfortunately, what you get is 3 items. So we go back, and I think this is the 3rd time this week that we've said it. It doesn't go wrong. It starts wrong. Who you bring out from the kitchen to put on the display for Kenyans to pick from. The thing started in the kitchen, and if you don't do it right from there, because of we have a political party system that they have to come through the parties. right? Unless you're working as an independent. And then people said, how are you going to form government if you're just an independent? Okay, so you go into the political parties, but the very stuff of what you're putting out there, for the most part, we have to question and say, okay, well, if this is what's on the buffet, what am I going to do? I have to pick from this.
As I said, again, it goes to us. How many of those good people are offering themselves?
Okay.
I have offered myself. I'm not an excellent human being, but Kenyans know I'm better than some of what we have on the menu. So I think let us offer ourselves. Let us also challenge the good people in our society, the ones that we know, tuambie we simama, na tusimame na wao, and we support them. I think we can clean up these parties from inside by just pushing the right people into these spaces and telling so and so, no, you can't afford to sit when things are going wrong. We want you to come out. We want you to vie. We will support you against the terrible options that we have. So, I mean, it's a concerted effort. Kenyans who are sitting there and pointing fingers and asking us who have gotten into the space what we are going to do, we are just telling them you're also part of this equation. Please, can you join in somehow in helping shape and in helping us get the right candidates? And I tell people, from every ward, from every constituency, it's possible to get one good person. We are not even looking for two, because only one can occupy the office at a go. Mimi nimejiofa Dagoretti. Now tumebaki 289 out of 290. Simwende mutafute 289 good ones, you know, and musupport the right ones. And don't waste energy on the wrong ones. Na ukiona blogger ako hapo anauza, because that's the other problem. These bad ones are still being sold by our own people. Endo kute jirani mwambie wacha upuzi. You are marketing a stale cabbage. This is a stale one. Can you stop it? Because sometimes some bloggers have a lot of influence. Na huyu blogger anashinda akiuza cabbage mbaya mpaka mtu anauliza ama tununue tu mbaya, mimi ndio sioni vizuri. So get these bloggers also and tell them, can you get to a place where you stop thinking from your stomach and start thinking as a person who means well?
On a scale of 1 to 10, justice at 4, how would you rate the performance?
In terms of justice, we are doing badly. Maybe 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. Because the most important thing, and people are keeping asking us as the opposition, what is your agenda? We are telling them the right to life is the first agenda.
Let's be alive first.
Yeah, let's be alive. Let's start there. That's the right to life. And then the freedom from abduction and exploitation and extortion and killing and execution and torture and from dying in police cells. So once we are alive, we can see this Singapore of theirs that they're telling us if it's going to be there. But you cannot promise us to be alive that we shall be dead and then we shall go to Singapore. So when people come and, hamuna agenda, tuko na agenda. Agenda is to promise Kenyans, number one, that we shall not kill you. That's the biggest Don't talk roads, don't talk steamer, don't talk barabara before you talk about the right to life. In fact, the first qualification of a presidential candidate in 2027 should be a respecter of human life, number one, and then human rights, number two. And then every other agenda can follow. Don't give us roads, don't give us steamer, don't give us barabara before we talk about life and the right to life and the dignity of the person and all the constitutional provisions for human rights that are given unto us by the 2010 Constitution. After we've enjoyed our rights, now we can talk about barabara, na stima, na maji, na soko, na Singapore, in that order.
All right.
Yeah.
Fanya Mambo Kinuthia has been here with us this morning, advocate as well as governance analyst. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. Some things that need to be said, we'll keep saying them.
Yeah.
Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.